So, what really happens when the brain gets damaged? You might think it just breaks, that it just stops working. But the truth is actually way more interesting. Instead of just giving up, your brain does something kind of incredible. It changes its own rules. It literally lowers its standards just to keep the whole system running. Let's dive into this amazing story of how our brain chooses a fuzzy reality over no reality at all. This quote from Professor Martin Collet, who's one of the researchers behind this work, just hits the nail on the head. Imagine you're listening to your favorite song, and suddenly the radio signal goes bad. All you hear is static. The music's still being broadcast, but you can't make it out. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today, biological static, inside your head. But before we can really get into what that static sounds like, we have to appreciate what the crystal clear music is supposed to be. We need to look at how the brain works when it's in its prime, a state of absolutely incredible, high-fidelity precision. And the magic word for all this precision is a concept called isochronicity. I mean, think about it. Signals are zipping around your brain from all over, traveling different distances. But for you to perceive a single coherent moment, they have to arrive at their destination at the exact same time. The brain pulls this off by cleverly adjusting the signal speeds. This is the brain's high standard. It demands perfect, synchronized timing to create the sharp, clear reality that we experience. And just how high is that standard? Well, it's ridiculously high. For key hubs in the brain, like the thalamus, think of it as the main switchboard. Signals have to arrive within a window of just 5 to 30 milliseconds to be counted as simultaneous. That is way faster than you can blink. If a signal misses that tiny window, it's just ignored. The brain is an incredibly strict timekeeper. But what happens when keeping that perfect time becomes impossible? Right. So that's the ideal. But this is where our story really gets going. We have to introduce a villain, something that attacks the very foundation of this perfect system, and replaces all that beautiful precision with, well, with pure chaos. And that villain is called demyelination. Myelin is this fatty insulation wrapped around our brain's wires, the axons. It's what lets signals travel super fast and arrive right on schedule. But when that myelin is lost, which is what happens in diseases like multiple sclerosis, the whole communication system just falls apart. That perfect high-speed digital signal degrades into that biological static we were talking about. Now, when scientists talk about this chaos, they're not just being poetic. They mean three very specific things. First, you get what's called temporal jitter. The signal doesn't just show up late, it shows up at totally random, unpredictable times. It smears the data. Then there's ectopic noise. And this is wild. The damaged wires just start firing off signals all by themselves, creating all this background chatter that isn't even real information. It's just noise. And finally, to try and be heard over all that jitter and noise, other neurons get hyperexcitable. They basically just start shouting. And this chart just shows the difference so clearly. On the left, you've got a healthy neuron. The signals are precise, clean, super reliable, a beautiful, clear pattern. But on the right, which is based on the data from the JAMIN study, you see what demyelination does. The signal arrival is delayed and jittery, the pattern is totally smeared and unpredictable, and its reliability? It's basically in the gutter. It is a complete mess. So the brain is getting this chaotic, unreliable mess of information. If it's stuck to its original, super high standards, the whole system would just fail, right? No signal would ever make it on time. So it does something truly radical. It makes a choice. And this is the critical moment. The brain can either stick to its strict 5 to 30 millisecond rule and basically just shut down because nothing is meeting the criteria, or it can adapt. It can actually change the very definition of what on time even means. And here it is. This is the stunning proof from the research. Check this out. On the left, in a healthy brain, that window for deciding if two signals are related is super narrow, around 20 milliseconds. But look at the right. In the demyelinated brain, that window triples to around 60 milliseconds. The brain has literally fundamentally changed its own rules. So what's actually going on here? It means the brain is lowering its standards. It's basically saying, okay, look, these signals are arriving way further apart than I'd like, but you know what? I'm just going to count them as happening at the same time anyway. It's an incredibly pragmatic trade-off, just to keep the lights on. But a trade-off like this always comes with a cost. So, what is the price of this amazing adaptation? By opening up that window of acceptance, What crucial information does the brain now have to filter out and maybe lose forever? This comparison tells the whole story. A healthy brain circuit works like a high-pass filter. It can handle complex, rapid-fire information. We're talking bursts firing 200 times a second that carry all the fine-grained details. That's what gives us a sharp reality. But the damaged adapted circuit, it becomes a low-pass filter. It just can't keep up. The research shows it fails to transmit those high-frequency bursts. All it can manage are simpler, slower signals. The fine details are lost, and the world becomes fuzzy. Okay, so let's bring this all together. What we're really looking at here is a remarkable survival strategy. The brain makes this calculated decision. It chooses to keep working, even if that means sacrificing perfection. It chooses function over fidelity. And here's the whole journey, right here. It all starts with that super high standard, built on perfect timing. Then, chaos gets introduced through damage, so the brain adapts. It widens its rules to avoid a complete system failure. And the consequence of that adaptation is a new reality. One that's functional, yeah, but ultimately a lot less precise. And this isn't just some abstract science experiment. This incredible mechanism gives us a really powerful explanation for some of the cognitive symptoms, things like brain fog or slower processing speeds, that people with diseases like multiple sclerosis experience. It's not just that the signal is gone, it's that their brain is actively processing a lower resolution version of the world just to keep going. Which really leaves us with a pretty profound question about the brain's resilience. When it's faced with overwhelming chaos, it makes a compromise. It accepts a fuzzy, blurry signal because the only other option is complete silence. It's an amazing reminder that the brain's ultimate goal isn't perfection, it's survival.